Hello and welcome back to the Workbench. We are working on the MT, or Modern Toys, or Masudaya, I think is what it's called, Corona Sedan. I found some more information on this thing. I wanted to share that with you before we got started in getting this thing to become an RC car. Well, what I learned is that this thing, you would turn it on from the bottom. There was a switch back here, and you would flip that switch back and forth, and that would make the car go. It would go forwards. And then you had this control here, and this control you would press forward. It was a plunger. So if you press it halfway, it would go straight. If you let it go, it'd turn right. Press it all the way forward, it would turn left. And what it would do is it would take this piece. Let me zoom in on this piece for us. In focus. It would take this piece, and that plunger would pull this back and forth, which would then move this back and forth. It also had winkers, is what they call it, or blinkers is what we call them now. And it had a connection here. This is part of the existing connection, but you can see in these photos with all the wires, it had a connection on there, and as you would move this back and forth, it would swipe against different connectors in there, and that would turn the backlights on or off. They wouldn't blink, they would stay solid, so maybe that's why they called them winkers. I don't know. But anyway, in the last episode, we discovered that this thing was still working. It was still movable back and forth. Well, what I've discovered is that this thing is just way too flimsy to connect a servo to. Even with a little micro servo right here, this little 3.7 gram servo, I think it's still going to be too much for this thing. So what I did was I designed a piece in order to fit inside of here, where I can attach the servo here and the steering in this area. So in this exciting episode, that's what we're going to do. So let me explain what I've done, and then I'll throw it together real quick. We'll have one of those build montages like they do here on the tubes. So I have my wheels. Now when I got my wheels, they came in a container like this: wheels, tires, and axles. I went ahead and figured out what length that needed to be. I cut it, and then I used my tap and die set in order to go ahead and tap that so that I can put on a M2 lock nut on there, which they're kind of hard to grab because they're small. So I can thread that right on right now. See, there we go. I also learned that with these guys that I designed, I needed to put in a stopper right here so that the bearing wouldn't go all the way through. I didn't need a stopper on the outside because the wheel itself, when it goes through there, is going to hold that bearing in there, and then that nut will hold the bearing in there. To press those in, I found that these great Knipex or Knipex or whatever the heck they are, these are parallel jaw pliers. They work really well for pressing those bearings into place. So you can get them in the spot, and these jaws stay parallel, and thus it presses that bearing in without a chance of breaking it. I ended up printing these sitting at a 45-degree angle. So they're printed up like that. This one was printed like that. And I did that because it made them stronger. If I printed them so that this was the bottom, then all the layer lines went this way. And with the layer lines going that way, it broke. These had a chance of breaking a lot easier. If I printed it like this, then I had a chance of this part breaking off right here. So printing it at a 45-degree angle, I hope that's going to solve both of those problems. But we're going to find out after we've run this for a while. I have my electronics ready. I have my electronics ready because I'm going to need to center my servo. In order to do that, I've got to have the receiver working, and I've got to have the speed control working to provide power to the receiver. So that is the plan for this video. at the end of this video, I want the front end to be done, and I want the servo to be mounted. Start getting this thing built. I also went and got one of these fantastic screwdrivers, I hope. And I'll give you a review on that in another video. But it's got all the different bits that you could ever ask for. Not sponsored. I asked them to sponsor, but they didn't do it. I don't know why. I guess they don't like me. But whatever. So let's get this thing put together. All right. There is an order of operations to this. I have to remember. Yes, I remember now. I have to put in these parts in first. Then I can put on this part and then the wheels. So there we go. That is the order of operations. Let's find all my screws. Oh, here they are. All right. So let's take a look at this design. Obviously, it's replicating the original as much as I could. Pretty close, I think. It does the job. It does the job of steering just fine. And as far as updates that I'm going to do to this before I post these online for you, I'm going to add in a block on this side to make that solid so that if you were to tighten this too tight, it won't pinch those together and break it. And that's one design change I'm going to do. The other design change I'm going to do is in this area right here. I'm going to add in some angle braces here to give this a little bit more strength, because this part right here is a weakness and it may break on you. All right, let's get the electricity going on this thing and get it turning, and then we can get it mounted in the car. Got my battery charged, got my electronic speed control, got my transmitter, got my receiver. Let's get it all plugged in and get that centered and see how it works. The electronic speed control goes into channel 2 with the white or yellow towards the center of the receiver. The steering servo goes into channel 1, again with the white towards the center. The red one is the power, so I want to make sure that my red and black are correct on my plugs before I plug them in. And voila. And then I will hit the button there to turn it on. We'll turn on our our transmitter. And there we go. This one looks like it was already bound, so that is good. I have the servo centered now. Let me double check. Yes, channel 1 is set in the center. Right there. If it was left or right, you see how that thing goes left or right, white or red, that's what happens. You want it right in the middle. There we go. Well, that's fine. We can adjust that. I haven't tried this yet, so you're going to be as amazed as I am. Look at that. A little too much throw on there, but that's okay. We can fix that. But it works. Not the fastest throw in the world, but, you know, it's okay. I'm trying M2. That works great. All right, let's get that into a good spot. That looks good. Yep. With our marker, mark the spot. And we'll see if we get a mark. That works. Yeah, that looks like it's right there. That was about right there. Okay. So we'll get this center punch. And that one's going to go right there. And now I'm going to drill those out with 2.5 mil. And then I'll have some holes. Be right back. The final step in this is to mount that to the fabulous chassis. All right. That looks pretty good. I like it. Look at that. Guards still fit on? Plenty of room. Look at that. All right. I think that's enough for this video. We will, next time we're going to work on the back wheels. So we will have one of these axles going through. I'll probably cut these things off. I'll have that go through there with some bearings and a nice mount that goes there. And then I have some motors. I don't know what speed motors I should have got, so I got 3,000 RPMs. That's probably too much. But that motor will sit there like that, and then I'll make a pinion or pulley on there. Make a pulley on here and connect it with a O-ring, and that should do the trick. And then after that, we just got to mount the electronics, make the battery case, and we're done. Oh my goodness. So we should be able to get done with this in 2 more episodes. So thank you for watching. Let me know if you like this content. I sure like doing it, so I'm probably going to do it anyway. But let me know if you like it. And we'll see you on the next one. I do have another model that I'm going to do. I'm going to be using this chassis, this little Orlando Hunter guy. I'm going to be using the suspension wheels and axles on this on another model, converting it to RC. So I'm having fun again. Thanks for watching. You have fun out there as well.